Chapter 81. After the duel, I still can't believe he moved like that. Did you see the gun tricks? He blinked through Serina's lances. That's illegal, right? Inigo kept his eyes closed, arms folded behind his head as he lay stretched across the bench beneath the elm tree. The heat of the duel still radiated faintly in his muscles, but the fatigue hadn't caught up yet. Not physically, but mentally, he was easing off the throttle. Serina stood nearby, now in a more relaxed posture, cooling off with a chilled water spell gently misting over her shoulders. Her golden staff leaned against the tree beside her, and she glanced toward Inigo every so often with a slight smirk curling her lips. "I'm surprised you don't have a personal cheering squad already," she said at last, breaking the comfortable silence. Inigo opened one eye and smiled. "Give it a week. I'm thinking about hiring background dancers for when I enter rooms. Maybe train them to chant Burger King while tossing enchanted fries? Exactly the vibe I'm going for," Inigo said, and then continued with a mutter. "Burger King? What a coincidence." Serina chuckled and turned her gaze toward the now empty dueling field. "You know, I actually thought I had you when I cast the lances." "You did," Inigo said honestly. "If I blinked half a second late, I'd be toast." She didn't respond right away. "Then, you're different, Inigo. Not just your gear or your speed. It's the way you think in a fight, like you've played it in your head 1,000 times. "I kind of have," he said. "But it wasn't magic back where I'm from. It was games." Serina tilted her head. "Games?" Inigo smiled. "Long story. Maybe I'll tell you over dinner sometime." "Oh ho!" Lyra chimed in from behind them. She was sitting on a nearby stone bench, kicking her legs playfully. "Was that a date request I just heard? Inigo, are you planning on cheating on me?" Inigo shrank. "No, I didn't mean it by that, Lyra. Please do not misunderstand. I won't do things that will make you mad, Lyra. But if it's a casual dinner, I can still come, right?" Serina asked. "Yeah, so long it's professional," Lyra confirmed. She leaned forward, resting her chin on her palms. "You two should have your rematch during the next Academy exhibition. The whole city watches that one." Serina raised an eyebrow. "You're not even in the dueling division." "Nope," Lyra said brightly. "But that doesn't mean I can't enjoy a good spectacle. And I bet any professors would sponsor it." "He was watching from the tower." Inigo blinked. "He was?" Lyra nodded. "Yep, I saw his silhouette at the observation deck." "Great," Inigo muttered, rubbing the back of his head. "That means I'm probably going to get summoned for some evaluation." "Wait, how are you familiar with the bureaucracies in this academy?" "I'm just familiar," Lyra simply replied. "You make it sound like a bad thing," Serina said to Inigo. "It's not bad," he admitted. "Just formal and boring." "Wouldn't be the first time someone got fast-tracked through the ranks," Lyra offered. "Your performance today could land you in the elite division." Inigo leaned back again. "I'm not really worried about that. I'm not here to climb the ladder. I'm here to grow stronger." Serina sat beside him, her expression softening. "Why? Because I have a feeling something big is coming?" Inigo said, glancing at the sky. "And when it does, I don't want to be caught holding just a spatula." Lyra smiled faintly but didn't pry further. The breeze rustled through the tree branches above, shaking loose a few golden leaves that spiraled gently to the ground. After a while, Serina stood. "I should head back to the chapel dorms. Healing class in the morning." "Don't blind the instructor," Inigo teased. "No promises." As she walked off, staff in hand, she gave him one last look over her shoulder. "Good match, Inigo. You too." She vanished into the soft golden light of the setting sun. Lyra stayed a little longer, absently sketching something in a notebook. "You're not going back to your dorm?" "Nah," Inigo said. "I'm thinking of returning home. I'm tired at this point." "I see. Then let's walk together." "Okay." The two of them walked side by side through the quiet marble halls of the academy, their footsteps echoing faintly in the dimming light. Evening lanterns had already started flickering to life, casting soft blue hues across the polished floor. Outside, the orange glow of dusk painted the courtyard rooftops in warm tones, like a watercolor bleeding across the horizon. Inigo tucked his hands into his pockets, his body still humming with residual adrenaline from the duel. But now, with Lyra beside him, it all felt a little less intense, calmer, easier to breathe. "Sir, the novel, F. IR.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. You were amazing out there, Lyra said without looking at him. Even if I saw you train for a month, I didn't expect you to completely dominate someone like Serena. Inigo gave her a sheepish grin. It wasn't about dominance. It was about control. I had to test myself against someone who wouldn't pull punches. Lyra stopped walking for a moment and turned toward him. Just don't forget you're still human. You don't have to carry every future threat by yourself. He looked at her, surprised. That obvious, huh? Very, she said softly. But I'm not saying stop. I'm saying, I'll be there. When that something big comes, I'll stand with you. Inigo blinked. Then he smiled, a real quiet smile. Thanks. That means more than you think. They resumed walking again, exiting the academy gates and heading down the lamplit cobblestone path that led toward the merchant district where Inigo's home and burger shop stood. The cool night air had begun to settle, brushing past them with the scent of rain-soaked earth and distant spices from tavern kitchens. As the rooftops of Amber's hearth came into view, Lyra gave his arm a playful nudge. Race you to the gate? Inigo raised a brow. You're challenging the Blink-King to a race? Just don't blink, cheater. He laughed. All right, fine. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Chapter 82. A new feature a day later. Sir, the NovelFire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The smell of grilled meat and sizzling fries wafted through the air like a homing beacon for the city's hungry. It was back to work again for the two. Order 7. Double beef with cheese, no onions, large fries, orange juice. He called out. Got it. Lyra shouted from the side station, her apron a little crooked and her sleeves rolled up to her elbows. Her hair was tied back into a short ponytail, and a thin sheen of sweat lined her forehead. She spun in place, grabbed the magically cooled pitcher from the freezing chamber, and poured orange liquid into a crystal cup shaped like a goblet. The customer, a dwarf with soot on his face and a miner's helmet, smiled toothily as she handed it over the counter. Appreciate it, miss, he said before waddling toward a booth near the window. Next, Inigo barked, already placing another patty on the grill. It had been a busy morning. No staff, just the two of them. The others were either sick, assigned to academy duties, or too hungover from last night's local festival to show up. But Inigo wasn't stressed. He thrived under pressure, and Lyra was more than capable. Between them, they ran the shop like a finely tuned machine. Okay, Lyra panted. That was the 15th order in under an hour. I think we're still alive. Barely, Inigo said. Want to split fry in 5 minutes? Deal, she said, flashing a grin. The bell above the door jingled again, and a new wave of customers entered. 2 elven archers in scout cloaks, a couple of young mages from the academy, and what looked like a foreign merchant trying to decipher the menu board. Inigo stepped forward. Welcome to McCronald's, where the food's fast and the staff's faster. What can I get you? As Lyra jotted down the orders, Inigo danced between fryer and grill, managing the queue with a speed and accuracy that made even a few customers applaud. Hey, you ever think about franchising? One of the elves joked. Not until I have employees who don't faint during lunch rush, Inigo replied without missing a beat. Things were hectic, but they were good, at least until the alarm sounded. A shrill, magical howl tore through the air, sharp and clear like a whistle piercing through one's chest. The jingle cut off. The mana lights above flickered red. All conversations stopped as the alert sigil projected itself onto the far wall of the shop. Emergency alert. Hostile forces detected outside city walls. All citizens, remain indoors or seek shelter. B-rank threats confirmed. Estimated hostile presence. Demonic ***. Estimated time of arrival, 1 hour. The room fell into silence. The foreign merchant dropped his coin pouch. The elven archers immediately moved toward the door, exchanging nods. Outside the city? Lyra whispered, her body tensing beside the soda fountain. Inigo stepped away from the counter, his eyes scanning the hovering sigil. His hands slowly clenched into fists. We're being attacked? One of the young mages asked in disbelief. Why now? They wouldn't ring the citywide horn unless they confirmed it, Inigo said flatly. Which means this isn't just some wandering monsters. This is organized. Demonic, Lyra repeated. Could it be? The Demon King's forces. Inigo didn't need to guess. His voice was already hardening. He turned toward the customers. All of you, he said. Take your food, we are closing. You sure? The dwarf asked. Ain't you comin'? I'm an adventurer. I will participate in the battle, Inigo said, already removing his apron. Lyra followed suit, her brows furrowed, face serious. I'll guide them. You prep. Inigo nodded. Right? Lyra turned to the group, ushering the startled customers toward the back alleyway, where an emergency escape route was carved into the stone. Follow me, quickly. As the door closed behind them, Inigo grabbed the emergency trunk behind the friar and opened it. Inside, his combat vest, twin Desert Eagles, a belt of elemental rounds, and a reinforced set of armor, all neatly arranged and ready for the day he'd need them. Apparently, that day was today. He suited up in silence. No words, no thoughts, just muscle memory. Every strap, every buckle, every magazine loaded with surgical precision. When he emerged from the kitchen, McRonald's was empty, silent, and glowing red with alarm light. But outside, the city stirred like a beehive. He stepped onto the street and looked toward the horizon, and saw it. A cloud of black mist on the southern side, just past the walls. Marching shapes within it, glowing eyes, roars that echoed through the wind like drums of war. Inigo narrowed his eyes. Then a voice crackled in his system interface. System alert. Demonic forces confirmed. Recommended action. Immediate response / reinforcement. Reward? Inigo's lips curled into a faint smile. So, a mission from the system, this is fairly a new feature. And there is a secret reward? Damn. He looked toward the academy spire in the distance, then to the rooftops of the merchant district, where he could see all the locals scrambling about. The city bell tower tolled in the distance, a deep, mournful sound that rang through stone and soul alike. He blink-dashed once onto a rooftop, then again higher. The vantage point gave him a clearer view of the city's southern gate. It was already being reinforced. Mages formed barriers, knights shouted orders, and squads of adventurers readied their gear on makeshift staging grounds. Above them, the black mist churned. Dark silhouettes pressed forward like a flood. And at the center of that darkness, Inigo saw it. Tall, crowned, burning eyes. A figure too large, too focused to be just another demon. The demon. He wasn't sure if that was the demon lord, but the vibes it gives off is too strong. Inigo drew both pistols. This is going to be my first time dealing with demonic forces, and I can't wait to see how powerful they are in this world. Well, he had watched a lot of anime, and there were types of demon races that could destroy a planet. If that was the case, then this would be definitely difficult for him to deal with. Chapter 83. The battle outside Part 1. Inigo crouched on the rooftop, peering over the city wall as the black mist grew thicker, pressing against the defensive wards like a tide about to break. From this height, he could see the entire south front. Hundreds of armored figures stood ready. Knights in plated armor glowed with enchantments. Shields raised, lances poised. Behind them, rows of battle mages anchored defensive sigils into the cobblestone streets. Flames hovered at their palms. Lightning snapped between staves. Arcane circles whirled like gears in the air. Adventurers of all ranks filled the gaps. Rogues with cloaks wrapped tight against their bodies. Warriors with great swords slung across their backs. Even a few summoners and beast tamers stood ready, their familiars growling restlessly at their heels. This wasn't just a defense. This was war. And yet, Inigo knew something was off. The mist, unnatural in the way it moved, didn't behave like smoke or fog. It swirled with intent, like it was alive. It avoided certain paths, coiled around others, sometimes shaping vaguely humanoid forms before dissipating again. But he didn't sense mana. At least not the kind that was normal. Down below, a squad leader shouted, "Barrage on my mark!" Arrows and fireballs launched into the mist. Screaming streaks of light vanished inside the darkness. Then, nothing. No reaction. No impact sounds. Just silence. Then the screaming began. Came not from the demons, but from the soldiers in the front. Dozens collapsed in place. Some swung their weapons wildly at empty air. Others clutched their heads, howling in agony. A few just froze entirely, their faces blank as dolls, eyes flickering like broken lamps. What the hell? Inigo muttered. He blink-dashed to a lower rooftop for a better angle. That's when the true attack began. The mist broke apart, and from within it monsters charged. Twisted beasts with elongated limbs, skin like oil-slick armor, dozens of eyes blinking all over their bodies. Some ran on all fours, others floated, tentacled and shapeless like nightmares given form. The city defenders answered in kind. A volley of spells lit the night sky. Flames detonated. Ice shards rained like daggers. Lightning arced between spellcasters and targets with thunderous force. The front-line knights met the charge with a solid wall of shields and swords, crashing against the demons in a cacophony of metal and roars. Inigo watched, his hands tightening around his pistols. Even with all this firepower, the demons weren't faltering. They moved like they didn't care about pain. Some burst into dark smoke only to reform moments later. Others were cut down, only to be replaced by more pouring from the mist. An illusion? No, not quite, he said under his breath. It's like they're half real, flickering between layers. More screams. A squad of adventurers vanished in the fog. No trace, no bodies. Then, out of nowhere, a thunderous blast rocked the southern wall. One of the barrier crystals exploded. The protective field cracked. A breach. Demons poured in like water from a burst dam. Mages scrambled to reinforce the formation. Knights tried to plug the gap, but they were being overwhelmed. Still, the defenders held. Barely. Inigo dropped down into the alley behind the wall. He landed on a scaffold, then slid to ground level, moving through a narrow side street as he watched the chaos unfold through the gaps in the buildings. Screams, explosions, flashes of light and shadow. From this close, he could hear the whispers. Voices layered over each other. Male and female, old and young, laughing, mocking, crying. They clawed at the edges of his mind, like fingers brushing against his thoughts. He shook his head. Get it together. You haven't even fired a shot yet. Then his system interface blinked. Token balance, 18,905. New equipment available. Category, heavy weapons. M134 minigun, 12,000 tokens. Ammo pack, 5,000 rounds, 1,000 tokens. Accessories, shoulder strap harness, coolant rig, gyro stabilizer included. Perfect. He swiped the prompt. Purchase confirmed. Item delivered to inventory. Quipping. A bright light burst beside him as the massive minigun manifested in a swirl of digital sparks. He grabbed the grips. Heavy but manageable thanks to the stabilizers. He clipped the ammo belt into place and rolled his shoulders. The barrels spun slowly. The whine of power build-up thrummed through his arms. He looked toward the breach, toward the flood of demons still coming in. All right, he muttered. Time to test the merchandise. But before he could move, another wave of screams echoed through the street, this time from the inner city. A second mist, thinner, but spreading fast, began to snake through the alleys. People began stumbling out of their homes, eyes empty, some clutching their heads, others mumbling nonsense. A few raised weapons and started attacking civilians without warning. Inigo's blood ran cold. This isn't just a frontline attack. Something deeper was at play. Illusions. CTH Novelfire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Madness. Fear made real. And yet, through it all, one thing stood clear. He had to fight. Whether it was the gates, or the streets, or the very fabric of the city's sanity being unraveled. He couldn't let it fall. He raised the minigun. The barrels spun faster. And with a mechanical roar, he stepped out of the alley. Let's clean house. The metal spun to a scream. Inigo squeezed the trigger. A storm of bullets ripped forward, roaring from the barrels like a god's chainsaw. The sheer force kicked dust and debris into the air. Inigo's arms trembled with every rotation, but he held firm. Aim locked on the breach. The first line of demons disintegrated under the hail of lead. Limbs tore, bodies shredded. Black ichor splattered across stone and steel. Dozens fell in seconds. Inigo didn't stop. He swept the barrels in wide arcs, mowing down wave after wave. The recoil tried to drag him, but the stabilizers held. Heat shimmered at the end of the barrels. Empty casings poured out like brass rain. Come on, he shouted over the thunder. You wanted in? Here's your welcome party. Adventurers at the breach turned at the sound, and some of them cheered. Who the hell is that guy? I don't know, but I'm fighting next to him. Inigo advanced through the debris-strewn street, carving a path forward. His boots crunched over shattered cobblestone and twitching limbs. The minigun hissed with heat, smoke trailing from the coolant vents. But the tide wasn't slowing. For every demon that fell, two more came. And deeper in the mist, something watched. So that's the aberration. Chapter 84. The battle outside Part 2. The smoke thickened. Despite the roaring fire from his barrels, despite the shouts and spells from defenders, the mist continued to creep through the cracks, twisting between broken walls, slipping past ruined barricades, and clawing into the hearts of those too slow or too afraid to move. Inigo's boots pounded across the blood-slick street as he moved forward, laying down suppressive fire. The minigun's scream never let up. Each round carved through the writhing horde, limbs exploding, ichor gushing. And yet it was like shooting into water. Every space he cleared filled back in within seconds. Then came the pulse. A silent wave not heard, but felt. It slammed into Inigo's chest like a hammer made of thought. His vision warped. The buildings around him twisted, the colors inverted. He blinked and found himself alone. No demons, no defenders, just an empty street drenched in colorless fog. "What the hell?" he whispered, lowering the minigun. Behind him, footsteps. He spun. Lyra stood there. Her apron was torn, her face pale. "Inigo," she said, voice distant. "You left me." He froze. "What? No, I sent you with the others. You guided them out. I saw you." "You abandoned me," she said, eyes darkening. "Just like everyone else. Just like your world." A flicker in the air. Her form distorted. This wasn't real. His hand snapped up and fired a round into her chest. She exploded into smoke. "An illusion," he breathed. "The heck is going on here?" From the mist ahead, a shape formed. Tall, slender, shimmering like glass wrapped in oil. His face was veiled, indistinct. One moment male, another female. 1 second old, the next childlike. "You do not belong," the figure said, voice multilayered and slow. Inigo didn't answer. He spun the barrels again. The minigun lit up, and the figure vanished before the round struck. From the sides, more shadows formed. Demons. But these were different. They moved like puppets, their limbs twitching unnaturally, their heads jerking side to side like broken marionettes. And above them, strings of smoke. "Someone's controlling them," Inigo muttered. "Like they're on a stage." He swept the gun sideways and fired. The bullets carved through the marionette demons with brutal force, snapping their limbs, cutting strings. They fell, but again, no blood, just silence and smoke. From above, a shriek. He blinked upward just in time to dodge a descending blur. The rooftop cracked as a creature landed. An ape-like demon with 6 arms and a mouth that opened vertically across its face. Inigo tossed the minigun onto his shoulder rig and pulled his pistols mid-roll. 2 shots. One to the head. The creature twitched, then laughed. The bullet hole closed. It lunged. Inigo ducked under its swing, slid between its legs, and unloaded a full magazine into its spine. Nothing. He gritted his teeth. "That's tough. Looks like I need to enchant some bullets." The pistols glowed with runes. The next bullet burst into radiant silver mid-flight. This time, when it struck the ape-thing's back, it howled, burning. Inigo vaulted up and fired again, hitting its neck, its shoulders, its skull. With a final screech, it dissolved. Back into mist. The illusion pulsed again, and the voice returned. "You're not like the others." "Damn right," Inigo muttered. "I'm worse." He reloaded and turned toward the heart of the mist. He could feel it now, a presence deeper in. Maybe it was the one causing the illusions. Maybe it was the one that sent those people mad. Maybe it was the one watching from the shadows of his mind. Whatever it was, it had to die. He stomped forward through the fog. Behind him, other adventurers rallied, those who'd survived the mental assault. Mages clung to each other for grounding. Warriors shouted and charged. Inigo didn't wait. He stepped into the deepest part of the mist and vanished from their view. The illusion realm thickened. Now, memories bled in from his old world. CTH novel, F. IRAD website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Rain on pavement. Flashing lights of a city skyline. The distant echo of gunshots, not from battle but from a broken home. "Inigo," a voice whispered. He didn't falter. He shoved through it, fired blindly into the mist. Again, and then, at last, the fog parted. And there, seated on a throne made of fractured mirrors, was the source. Not a demon in the usual sense. A woman or something that wore her form. Eyes like galaxies, skin like pearl dust, hair that flowed upward into the mist. She smiled. You pierced my veil. Inigo raised both pistols. I'm going to do more than that. She lifted a hand, and the world twisted. The ground shattered. The sky turned to stained glass. Buildings folded into cubes and floated upward. His feet found no purchase. He was weightless, falling, rising, spinning. What the fuck? She walked through the broken space as if it were nothing. You think bullets matter here? She asked gently. Inigo didn't answer. He focused his aim and fired both pistols. She raised a finger. The bullets curved mid-air, spiraling off course. Cute trick, Inigo muttered. He dropped the pistols and pulled the minigun. Again, the barrels spun. The illusion shimmered. She frowned. The bullets screamed forward. Not at her, but at the mirror throne. It shattered, exploding into shards that sprayed outward like glass rain. The space rippled. Her form flickered. You! I don't care who or what you are, Inigo said. But you don't get to turn my world into a nightmare. He fired again, this time point blank. Her body dissolved into light, and the world collapsed. The illusion broke. Inigo fell, literally, back into reality. He landed hard in the middle of the ruined street, coughing smoke and blood. The mist was thinning. The screams were fading. The breach had held. Barely. But the illusion was gone. For now. Inigo stood slowly, smoke trailing from the spinning barrels. Behind him, the survivors rallied. The city hadn't fallen, but it had come close. Inigo, Lyra called, arriving at the battlefield. She then noticed the weapon he was wielding. New weapon. Yeah, new weapon, Inigo confirmed. Shit. I don't know where I have been, but I was inside an illusion earlier. Illusion? Inigo nodded his head. Anyways, the battle hasn't ended, so just in time for you to join. Chapter 85. The battle outside Part 3. Lyra adjusted the bow slung across her back, her quiver already half empty from her earlier skirmishes. Her auburn hair was tied in a messy braid, streaked with soot. Despite the chaos, her eyes were sharp and focused. I've been covering the western flank, she said. Barely held it. The mist there wasn't as thick, but people were still going mad. Inigo grunted. Same thing here, but I found the source. Some sort of illusion demon. I shattered its throne, broke the spell. Mist's thinning, but it's not over yet. A nearby explosion rocked the earth. They both turned toward the breach, where the battle still raged. Demons howled, their cries a mix of beast and nightmare, while defenders pushed back with every ounce of strength they had left. Come on, Inigo said, hoisting the minigun. Let's clean up the rest. They moved together down the street, Inigo on the ground, Lyra leaping between rubble piles and carts, gaining elevation wherever possible. She knocked 3 arrows at once, her fingers glowing faintly with wind magic. Inigo took point. His minigun screamed again, tearing through a group of spider-like demons crawling up the barricade. The steel cordon was broken in places, manned by only a few bloodied adventurers. Reinforcements incoming, someone shouted. From the southern alley, a large figure charged forward, Guildmaster Thorn. The man looked like a walking wall of steel, clad in spiked plate armor with a massive tower shield strapped to his back and a gretimer in one hand. His beard was caked with ash, his chest heaving from the sprint. Inigo, Lyra, he barked, voice like thunder. You're both alive. Good. We've still got a damn city to save. Thorn, Lyra called from a rooftop. We've got a partial breach ahead. The central line needs shoring up. Already saw it, Thorn said, slamming his hammer into the ground. Brought some muscle. Behind him, a dozen adventurers followed. Warriors, mages, and rogues. Most scraped up, some limping, but all armed and ready. Push up with me, Thorn growled. Inigo, take the right flank. Lyra, get high ground and clear the back line. Their casters are summoning reinforcements. Got it, Inigo said. Lyra nodded and launched herself up a broken building, vaulting windowsills with feline grace. The next few minutes were a blur of movement and violence. Inigo advanced alongside Thorn's squad, sweeping the minigun in arcs. Demons burst apart with each volley. A flying one dove from the sky, jaws wide, Thorn met it midair with his hammer, crushing it into the earth with a single blow. Lyra, above, loosed arrow after arrow. Her enchanted shots exploded on impact, disrupting formations and burning through demonic flesh. A scream rang out. One of the mages behind them was caught by a leech-like creature, its body wrapped around his chest. Inigo spun and shredded it before it could drain him dry. "Eyes open," he shouted. "They're getting clever. Their commander's still alive somewhere," Thorn growled. "This isn't just berserk fury. They're coordinated. Like they're buying time." "For what?" Lyra called, already preparing her next volley. No one had an answer. Then the sky above shifted. Dark clouds that had once simply churned with smoke and ash began to swirl with color. A vortex formed, purple, green, and black, like a bruise torn in the heavens. From its center, something descended. A massive winged demon, nearly the size of a house, slammed into the plaza at the edge of the city's center. Its wings were bone and shadow, its arms twisted blades, its face a mask with 6 empty eye sockets. "The hell is that?" one warrior gasped. Thorn grunted. "That's their real vanguard." The demon didn't roar, it simply pointed, and from every alley, from every shadow, the remaining demons surged. "Hold the line," Thorn bellowed. "Form up on me." Shields clanked. Spears bristled. Inigo fell back to a more defensible position near a broken statue, where he could anchor the minigun. Lyra shifted positions, taking a perch above the plaza's edge. The battle began anew. The demon commander moved like lightning, blades slicing through stone and steel alike. 2 warriors went down instantly, their torsos cleaved in half. "Get it down," Thorn ordered. "Range, focus it. Range." Lyra's arrows flew first, one after another, each enchanted with wind, fire, or binding runes. They slammed into the commander's wings and chest, staggering it for only a heartbeat. Then Inigo opened fire. The minigun roared to life, bullets hammering against the creature's mask and limbs. Chunks of shadowy armor broke apart, revealing raw crimson underneath. The demon shrieked, a high-pitched psychic screech that made a few defenders drop to their knees. Thorn barreled in during the pause, swinging his hammer like a battering ram. It connected with the demon's chest and sent it flying back into a fountain, which shattered into pieces. "Now!" he yelled. Mages unleashed their spells in unison. Ice, fire, lightning, even gravity wells, all slamming into the downed demon. It struggled to rise. Inigo sprinted forward, dragging the minigun on a sling and switching to pistols. He flipped a rune switch, silver runes lit across the slide, and fired. The bullets exploded with light as they struck the demon's face. More cracks. Lyra, from above, loosed one final shot. An arrow glowing with violet energy, her ultimate skill, pierced the demon's mask and pinned it to the rubble. The commander spasmed. Then, with a final roar of defiance, it exploded into ash and smoke. The street went still. For a moment, there was only the crackling of flames and the panting of the living. Then the mist began to retreat. It slithered back like a wounded beast, dragging its remnants with it. Demons left behind began to vanish. Some exploded. Others simply collapsed like puppets with cut strings. "They're retreating," Lyra breathed. "Finally," Inigo said, shoulders sagging. Thorn stood among the wreckage, armor dented, shield gone, but still breathing. He looked to the sky, where the vortex was shrinking. "They know we're not going to fall easily," he said grimly. "That was a test. Probe. Maybe even a distraction." Inigo looked around at the corpses, the wounded, the buildings scorched and broken. "If that was a test," he said quietly, "I don't want to see the real thing." They gathered the wounded and pulled the dead from the rubble. Clerics and support teams began moving in from the rear guard, casting healing spells and erecting barriers in case of ambush. The plaza was secured. For now. Later, as the defenders regrouped near the breach, Inigo sat on the edge of a broken wall, his minigun resting across his lap. Lyra sat beside him, cleaning her bowstrings with a cloth, her hands trembling slightly. "That illusion demon, it messed with my head," Inigo admitted. "Showed me things that are hard to comprehend." Lyra glanced at him but didn't press. She simply nodded and said, "I see." They sat in silence for a while, the air heavy with the aftermath. Then Thorn approached, a grim smile on his face. "You both did good," he said. "The whole guild owes you. And the city." Inigo looked up. "Is it over?" Thorn replied, "They are retreating, so I believe that's the end. Far beyond the realm of men, past the veil of reality where light and shadow fused into a sea of endless shimmer, the Lady of Illusion stood atop her palace of mirrors. The glass beneath her feet rippled, not from motion, but from thought. Her form was fluid, ever-shifting. Today, she wore the face of a noblewoman, graceful, cold, and ageless, though her eyes still glowed with galaxy-stained light. All around her, fragments of the recent battle hovered like memories caught in crystal. Scenes replayed in silence. The shriek of the vanguard, the minigun's fury, the shattered mask. She watched it all unfold again and again, her lips a thin line. Behind her, the chamber darkened as 3 generals materialized from swirling mist. Each one knelt. The first to speak was Krell, a beast of muscle and bone whose voice grated like metal over stone. "Lady, why did we retreat? The breach was holding. Their lines were broken. Had we pushed, the city would be ours." The second, Melis, a warlock of seething shadows, echoed the sentiment. "We had summoned the vanguard. His mask was cracked, but he still lived. Your presence alone unsettled the defenders. They were breaking." The lady turned slowly, her eyes like twin nebulae. "And yet one of them stood." The generals paused. "The man with the weapon," she continued, gesturing with a single finger. A shard of memory spun into the air between them, showing Inigo's final volley. The bullets tore through her throne, not her body, and disrupted the very foundation of her illusion. "He fought with a thing I do not understand," the lady said. "Not steel, not spell, something else. His will pierced my domain and his weapon." She lifted her hand and summoned the phantom of the minigun. It hovered, spinning slowly. No enchantment, no incantation, but it shattered my construct. It burned the vanguard. It broke the spell on hundreds. Melis frowned. "An artifact, a relic of the ancients." "No," the lady said, voice low. "It is foreign, alien, the power of a world that should not exist. And the man wielding it, he is not bound by the rules of this plane." "An unbound soul," Krell repeated. The Lady of Illusion nodded. "Then we must kill him now," said the third general, a pale-skinned assassin known only as Vern. "Strike before he grows." "You think I retreated out of fear?" the lady asked, voice cold. "No, lady," Vern said, bowing. "I withdrew to watch," she continued, "to confirm. Now I have. He is dangerous. He must be studied, understood, broken carefully." The palace dimmed. Reflections of Inigo in battle replayed again. The desperation in his eyes, the precision of his aim, the impossible refusal to bend. "He stood in my domain and denied me," she whispered. "I have never seen that, not even from kings." The chamber was silent. "We will not rush this," she said. "If we strike again without preparation, we risk losing more than troops. We risk exposing our hand." SEA the Novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. "What do you command?" Krell asked. "We observe." The lady turned back toward her mirror throne, and slowly, it began to reassemble. "And when the time comes, we make him suffer in his reality, as he shattered mine." Far below, on the mortal plane, the mist had faded, but not forever. And above, in the mirrored dominion of illusion, the lady watched and waited.